What is going on, guys? Pineapple Sway here. Today I'm bringing you guys some more DC Universe Online, and today I'm going to be talking about whether or not this game should get a sequel. Oddly enough, since I made my last video, a lot of you guys were shocked that this game even still existed, which, to answer to that, I honestly think the exact same thing. I'm still shocked and surprised that this game, one, still gets updates, and two, still gets played by a decent player base every single day. This game has been around basically for a long time since I was in elementary school. And like for context, I've graduated college. So it's shocking that this game is still around. But I think what can be really beneficial for WB and DC Universe is if they make a sequel to this game. I honestly don't know how they would do it, but we see it a lot with a few games nowadays. Like a big example is Overwatch 2. Although Overwatch 2, in my opinion, just wasn't really that great compared to Overwatch 1, they did it. It's something they did. And I think DC Universe can do something very similar, going from DC Universe Online to DC Universe Online 2, and maybe adding something new entirely, a new story, since, obviously they have new continuations of story with after the Brainiac story. But, maybe they could you know, make a new story that's canon to the ending of like the original ending, once you defeat Brainiac and finish everything. Since, obviously there's so much in this game, but and from what I've seen and in my opinion, and not a lot of people know that this game still even is continuing, that this game is still a thing. And I think, if they market and pivot towards a DC Universe 2, a lot of people will probably regain interest. Since the sad thing, about DC Universe Online, and it's not even their fault, this is currently the only active DC game that gets updates. Um, and what do I mean by that? Well, for example, Marvel, they have like Marvel Strike Force, Marvel's Contest of Champions. Um, they have Marvel Rivals. They have so many games that are just constantly getting updates and content. Well, I think DC, at the time I'm making this video, has DC Universe Online and then DC Dark Legion. DC Dark Legion is horrible, and I know that DC Worlds Collide is coming out soon, so they'll have that soon. We'll have that, since I'm a big DC fan. But you know, this game still gets updates on a regular basis. This game still has a lot of player base. And I don't really know how they could set it up and build to make a sequel, but I think like what I said, it could benefit I think everybody. One, people will find out that DC Universe is still a thing, and it could just be a lot more easier to access and people to play, since they don't really market this game anymore. Like, the only reason I knew about this game and kind of found out about it, before it came, or obviously after it came out, is that it released on Xbox One like a few years ago, and that's kind of how I found out about, oh, this game is back. And then earlier this year, they finally released the Xbox Series X and PS5 version. Like, no marketing, no announcement. It just showed up on the Xbox store. So I downloaded it and then started playing it again on the Xbox Series X. And now I'm playing it on PC. And, it's just crazy to me. Like, after all this time, like, I know I've said it over and over and over again, but, like, this game still gets updates. This game still gets content, and like good content too. Like obviously, like I've seen a lot of people say, like, and I'm like 50-50. People said that like a lot of content, if you want to and get the most enjoyment, you obviously have to pay, and it's behind a paywall. But it's like, maybe for the next DC Universe or DC Universe 2, maybe not make it free to play or something. I don't know. Or they can just revamp it entirely. Like, it's just, this is a really good game, and not a lot of people know about it. And I think a sequel could help, you know, people who want to play this game, and DC and Warner Brothers, just to help get their game out there, because obviously they're not going to do any marketing or any advertising for a 15-year-old game. That just doesn't make sense. But if they were somehow to make a sequel and bring that to life, introduce, new DC characters, new archetypes, new classes, new weapons, just a new, new maps, you know, rehauling the maps, rehauling the characters, adding a new story that takes place after this game's main story, and just kind of continue on and then do the same thing that they've been doing, that would be super cool. And honestly, like, I think there's a way to do it, sort of like, for example, one game that I literally forgot of that just came to the top of my head, Injustice 1 and Injustice 2, like on, the mobile devices. Like those games I think still get updates. I could be wrong. I think Injustice 1 kinda and Injustice 2 definitely does, but um they could even just have DC Universe online for people who just want to stay on that game, and then update DC Universe online too. Like, there's a lot of ways they could play this, but it's just crazy to me that this game is just really a hidden gem in DC right now, and it's kind of a test of, well, DC doesn't really have any good games out at the moment, and they probably won't for a long time. And but at the same time, it's like there's this game, and it's always going to get updates. It's fun. You can play with friends, and you can really just do whatever you want with no limitations. I don't know. I'm kind of just rambling on here. I don't want to ramble for too much longer, but what would you guys like to see if they did make a DC Universe Online too? I think it's a big possibility. I think it's highly possible. Is it something that can happen in the next 5 years? Definitely. But it's just like as much content as they put in this game, as much as they still provide for this game. I wish they would advertise it so people knew about it. Since this game's obviously free, you can play it, and there's a lot of stuff to do. Surprisingly, for a game that's really old, and a big thing too. Now that I think about it, obviously, if DC Universe Online was to get a sequel, they could revamp the graphics. They could overhaul the graphics. They could make the game look a lot better, a lot more realistic, or just give it a better feel, better performance. There's so much stuff they can do since obviously this game still, looks like how it did so many years ago. But I don't know, just enough rambling from me. I kind of just been repeating the same thing over and over. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this video. So that's really about it. All I gotta say today, DC Universe Online 2, is it a possibility? I think it is. I'll see you guys next time. Please consider liking and subscribing. Peace out.